Hey guys, GHAZZY here with another Last Epoch build guide video, and this is the GigaChat Bob the Slapper I made 10 months ago, now updated, ready for the 1.0 launch on 21st of February. This is the Necromancer, Skeletal, Frost Mage endgame build for Last Epoch. The reason we call him Bob the Slapper is because this build is not a meta build, it is not the super fast GigaChat clearing build, but it is a single one minion GigaChat Slapperoonie build that will shit on bosses. And it's fun as fuck to play. This guy will just completely demolish content, and you have one minion running around with giga buffs all around the field and doing over 100k crits, and it's 100% chance of crits. It's beautiful. It's a low life build, and that's why I'm recording this video in this way, because I just finished Reign of Dragons Timeline Monolith, and I'm going to replace the Void Resistance Blasting for a flat HP. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to explain how the low life system works. No, you do not want to level with this build. You will have to check out the leveling guide that we have on Ice Events. Link to that will be in the description down below. And level that up and then go into this build once you have the low life pieces. Low life pieces, I will show you in a bit, are two pieces. It's a pair of boots and a chest piece. They will take a % of your current life and give you ward based of that as regeneration. That means that the more life you have, the more ward you're going to have. My current gear, I'm sitting on 68, 65 as ward, and if I replace this and get 57 flat HP, I will now be getting a higher life count, which means I have a higher % of HP that's going to be converted into ward passively, and now I'm sitting on way over 7,000. And the higher I get to the very cap of it, the slower it's going to regenerate. If I pop some life flask with something like a Chains of Ularos, which is like an endgame piece, then they can ramp up even more at ward to have better sustain with your defensive layers. So the low life pieces is Exsanguinous, which gives you 20% of your current health lost per second, and then 20% of your missing life is then gained as ward per second, which is why life is such an important stat. The boots are doing the same thing, where 13% of current life lost per second and 13 of the missing health is gained as ward per second, together with the idea of having tons of intelligence to have a ward retention for this. Now, since you might be watching this video after some patches has happened, maybe some changes to this build has happened, make sure you click the link in the descriptions below to check the written guide, which will have everything up to date. This video serves more as for the purpose of showing the gameplay footage, such as us destroying this boss here at a corruption state of 250 corruption. It is also serving the purpose of showing you how the mapping feels with this build and how the build plays. For example, you will use the A key to control where your minion is going, and you will be running it like this. This is why it is not recommended to use this as a GigaChat clearing build, but rather a bossing approach to it. So that's basically how this build functions. The idea of this is that he will stay alive, and the longer he's alive with the buffs up, the more damage he'll do. And the purpose of the build is to keep Bob the Slapper at a very, very effective damage output by having him hitting enemies to leech the HP he loses by a permanent Infernal Shade. Now, the Dread Shade will make him have a 100% chance to crit. To show this, I'm going to enter the other area I wanted to run, which was Ending the Storm. So let's head over there, and I will show you how these buffs actually will function. Again, all the details will be available in the actual build guide in the links in the descriptions below. So first off, I'm going to show you how ridiculously low damage this guy is doing without any buffs whatsoever. As you can see, he's critting for 1300, 700, 400 hits. If I give him Dread Shade, which I have to reapply every 18 seconds, the guy's gonna have a 100% chance to crit. We can start with that. As you can see, now he's critting at 4k, 4.5k, again, or 2.7, 5, 6k, great, all amazing, 100% chance to crit. Now, he's not gonna die from this buff, and as you can see here, he's gonna lose it, have to reapply it. However, we're going to give him the Infernal Shade. The longer this is active, the more damage he's going to take. Inevitably, he will die. This is why we need to have a lot of minion life for him and a lot of leeching. And however, if he's dying too fast, you'll either just resummon him and reapply the buffs, or you just reapply the Infernal Shade, because it's going to ramp up. So we do this, you see he's taking 125 damage, and this number is going to ramp up, and inevitably he's not going to be able to self-sustain. Versus bosses where he's able to hit all the time, this is not a problem. You can reapply the Infernal Shade, and it will go back down to low damage outputs. You can resummon him and reapply the Dread Shade, and you have him back up again. this is something you should just keep in mind if you encounter a situation where it dies. Here's the 100% chance to crit. I'm going to show you the damage when you have the Infernal Shade up, and we'll see how you like these numbers and the speed that he brings out as well. So now it's sitting at 6k, 5k, and as soon as you ramp up on bosses, the numbers we're looking at is close to between 50 to 120,000 damage, depending on how many hits he's getting in on the boss before it's dead, which is absolutely freaking ridiculous. We've seen some 160k crits as well, and this is again on Corruption 200. Not to mention that the enemies right now, that they take 42% less damage when they're high HP, so that's a big factor in the actual damage numbers. We could go to the target dummy and I can show you there as well. I just feel like showing damage numbers on a target dummy in this game feels a bit inflation-like, just to showcase numbers that are not really accurate in a real situation in the mapping sequence. So that's why I don't want to do that. But keep in mind, they're taking 42% less damage in here, and the damage is just ridiculous. And it's just one guy. But it also shows you that you should not really be using this as a super fast clearing ability. And the reason the low life is so important here is because of the fact that you have to use the A key to control where he's going. If he's not keeping up with you, then you're going to have to tank some hits before he shows up to kill everything. Let's see here. What was that, 120, 100k? Now that's 11k, 12k. That's already over, it doesn't matter. So that's how it looks. So again, I'm going to skip the target dummy because of the fact that I just feel like it's disingenuous, personally. But I'm going to show you this passage tree. Very simple. Current iteration of this, again, updated version will be in the written guide. We're going to run for intelligence and necrotic resistance. We're going to make sure we have stolen vitality for the minion HP. We get some vitality there as well. Dark rituals and minion attack speed, super important. And minion speeds are very, very good in general. And also there's a place of players when you use the minion skill. Not that it matters. 1 point in the ward gain on nearby enemy death, kind of nice when you're clearing. It's mostly to get access to unnatural preservation. This gives you the ward retention and some extra resistances, and the access to Infernal Shade. Lich points, this is just intelligence and mana reading. This is kind of like the last things you add to the build as a finisher when you're level 90, going for those last 10 levels. Necromancer tree, we have 1 point in here for hunger, duration, health. 8 points in Risen Army for minion damage, attack speed, and cast speed. 5 points again for the sake of the minion's HP and the minion's armor to keep him alive. In the previous iteration, we had a crit, but we already have a 100% chance to crit with this guy. 5 points of Reclamation of Soul for ward retention, because that's how we stay alive with the low life. 1 point in the blood armor to get access to the 10 points we put into minion HP, again, to keep this guy alive. Then we put 8 points for Tyrant, which is reducing HP a little bit, but increasing your HP. And this is worth it because of the investment we have in minion HP. So we can actually sacrifice some of that for our own survival. 8 points into Clinging to Life, Vitality, and minion resistances. 3 points in here is only to give a little bit of damage, but mostly just to up the access for Rite of Undeath, which is a ton of resistances, and a minion necrotic damage and minion elemental damage. And that's the one we're looking for, the minion Ellie damage. 10 points into minion crit multi, since we're doing 100% chance of crit. That is a stupid amount of damage. Minion cold damage and chill chance. 5 points in here for, again, speed and the speed for you as well. And then we have 2 points into River of Bones, which is just a little bit of critical strike chance and extra leech on crits as well. Absolutely beautiful. It's very simple, very straightforward. Skill-wise, Dread Shade, like I mentioned before, we're going into no aura buffs, all for 1. We have an Egoism to minions always crits. We never have to worry about that. It has an 18-second cooldown. Make sure you reapply it. We're running on the Lingering Doom for the reduced health decay and necrotic damage. We don't really have to worry about this because this is just there to get access to the Egoism. Or sorry, not Egoism, my bad. Spectral Presence is just area. This is just to gain access to the Lone Watcher, which gives you 1 shade, which we only need since we only have 1 minion. And then obviously into attack speed and into Grim Fate for area and increased damage, but increased health decay, which we're not going to notice because this one barely deals damage compared to what we're taking from our Infernal Shade. Damage chance 25%, extra buff effect per missing health, which will be very noticeable once the ticks goes really high, and he's going to take a damage tick and then leech immediately up, and then a big damage tick and then leech it all up, and then a big damage tick. Every time he has a big damage tick, he just deals so much extra damage. It's crazy. And then obviously we're running Bone Curse, generic approach. You could run the Ruptured Corpse for explosion, kind of comfortable, don't need it. You can also just put in another point into area of effect. Most importantly, it has to do with more of the mark for death damage output for us, and the duration of it, armor shred chance, and all those things. Just generic cursing. We even have transplants to apply the bone curse when we're playing automatically from teleporting, and obviously we'll have the fear. This is all about just for scale our defensive layers. Same thing with the bone armor to give ourselves actual armor defense stats when we use it. It's again just a survivability reason. The bread and butter of the build, Bob the Slapper, aka Summon Skeletal Mage, aka don't nerf me please, is going to be spec'd into the Cryomancer, and we're taking the Frost Lich in this. This removes mages and pyromancers and gives you only the Cryomancer, and then we're running this with 5 points in the spell damage. Of course, we have extra projectiles for the clearing purposes. We have attack speed for obvious reasons, and then obviously getting a frenzy chance on frenzy on hits, which is super important for that attack speed. And then we're running the Archmage, which gives you that 1 minion instead of an army of them. And that's basically the gist of the build. It's very straightforward. Gear wise, like I mentioned, a little quick mention, we have some of these pieces when it comes to the rare items or the common unique, such as Death Rattle. You can farm this very, very easily utilizing the website lastepochtools.com. In which we have access to finding things like Death Rattle, as an example, which is a common drop, which is from the Age of Winter unique or set amulet. So you can find these pieces so commonly, so often, you never have to worry about a thing. And it's just absolutely freaking fantastic. I love this build. So much fun to play. Jewelra, you can use a rare one until we find it. The weapon, you can use ARPG that we talked about from the chat earlier. A Grave Reach is really good. I like having the extra layer of defense as the guy already does so much damage. Chains of Roller Rolls, kind of a luxury piece. I would only use this if you have legendary potential. Otherwise, I would stick with a rare one. Make sure you have a 100% chance for critical strike avoidance, which a blessing can help you with, but you'd rather have all resistances here, and make sure that the crit avoidance is covered from your rings, for example, would be a better slot to do so. I have pretty bad rings. You want to have intelligence, minion damage, and then the suffixes should be resistances and or crit avoidance on a better base, which is really bad for me in this. Just generic plus level skeleton mage, crit multis, doesn't even apply to the minions here. The HP, health, resistances, Lich's Scorn, super common drop as well. Just intelligence, Skelly Mage damage, resistances, HP across the board. It's such a generic and straightforward build to scale. It's so easy to play. Again, if you're watching this later than, several weeks later, maybe months later after this video is posted, make sure you check out the written guide in the descriptions below for all the details. Hope you guys enjoyed this build and the way it's played. I'm a big fan of this, one of my favorite minion builds in the last epoch, and I hope you guys will have fun on the launch of this game on 21st of February. I'll see you guys on the Twitch channel. Until then, as always, hit the like button, subscribe for more content. Stay safe. Keep rocking.